If you went out and bought a brand new puzzle toy for your dog to enjoy, you brought it home, you gave it to them, and they just looked at you like, what am I supposed to do with this? This video is for you. There's a couple of common reasons why our dogs might not enjoy the puzzle toys that we got them, and I'm going to be taking you through all of those in the next couple of minutes, along with Fenway right here is going to be helping me out. This is actually the guy that is not very good at puzzle toys. He gives up on them very easily, but he is, as you can see, very interested in them. He wants to kind of get going with these. So one of the most common reasons that your dog may not be so interested in the puzzle toy is the food that you're using might not be high value enough. A lot of times, and I've talked about this in my videos in the past, we try to load these toys with our dog's kibble or their daily portion of food, but that might not be super exciting for your dog, especially if they don't really love their kibble. So a good way to actually start with these is using a higher value treat in order to gain their interest in the toy and teach them how to use it. As a Happy Howie's official training partner, I want to talk to you about why I prefer using their soft meat rolls in a variety of different flavors to load my puzzle toys. So their soft meat rolls come in 3 different flavors. I've got the lamb right here, beef, and turkey is the last one. I tend to prefer the lamb for actually loading my puzzle toys with, and Fen is getting very impatient over here. He's very excited about these. This is actually one of his favorite treats. The lamb is his favorite flavor, and it is my preferred flavor for loading puzzle toys with. It's just a little bit more high value to my dogs. All of these are really soft, they're squishy, they don't crumble apart within the puzzle toys. Like a lot of these, my dogs will knock around all over the place. You don't need the soft meat roll crumbling apart in here and then it just falls out in powder form. These meat rolls do not do that. They hold their shape, which is perfect. So how I load this puzzle toy is exactly how the treats come out the other end. They don't crumble apart, but they're still soft and chewy and they're smelly in a very good way. So the other thing I really prefer about these meat rolls and why I choose to use them over just any other store-bought treat is you can customize, because they come in these giant logs, you can customize what shape you actually make your treat, which is perfect for all of these different puzzle toys. If you do have a dog that tends to struggle more with puzzle toys, you're gonna wanna look to cut these treats into larger chunks if you can. That's not gonna work for every single puzzle toy. Like this one, if I cut a really large chunk, my dog is never gonna be able to actually get it out of here. So taking the actual puzzle toy into account, which is something we're gonna talk about momentarily as well, is really important here in addition. But overall, if you're looking to gain your dog's interest in puzzle toys, then looking to cut the treats into a larger size and a bigger chunk is actually going to be really helpful for them. So I'm going to show you exactly what we're going to do here with the dogs with these puzzle toys, how to make things a little bit easier for Fen. Like I said, my dogs prefer the lamb flavor when it comes to puzzle toys. This is the highest value flavor to them. I really like to use these other 2 as training treats though, so I'm going to kind of set those aside. However, if you wanted to do a combination of all 3 of them to keep the puzzle toys really interesting to your dogs, you absolutely could. Fen, clearly this is his favorite flavor, but you gotta give me a minute to cut it up. Okay, so my first treat size, small bite-sized treats, that's kind of the size that I'm going for. So this size treat is gonna be optimal for like this Kong wobble right here. It's big enough that it'll fit through the hole, but it's not too big, it's not too small that it's gonna be too easy. It's just the optimal treat size. That's also gonna work well for this disc right here, stuff like that. So we're gonna have that as our first treat size. So these are the larger chunks that I'm going for. This is gonna be more optimal for my flat puzzle toys, for gaining my dog's interest in actually lifting these things up. So I'll show you that. That's going to be optimal for those. And I'm just going to cut it right down the middle like that. So I make 2 halves. So these are my 3 different treat sizes. I've got a chunk, I've got a wedge, and training treat size. Those are the 3 that I'm going to be working with, and I'm going to show you exactly what we're going to do with these. All right, so storage of these treats as well. I'm actually going to store this a little bit differently for the purpose of puzzle toys. I'm going to keep this one in its log form. I'll probably cut this in half so I can use the rest of it. Obviously his favorite treat. Can you get off for a minute? Thank you. I'm gonna cut this in half, put half of it in my freezer and leave the other half in my fridge. So when I'm ready to cut up more customized treat sizes like this, I can just grab it out of my fridge and cut that up right away. If I am using it for training treats, I'm gonna cut all of it up and store it just like this so I can grab and go. But when I'm using it for puzzle toys, I'm gonna store it whole. I'm gonna leave a link in the description of this video so you can pick up a couple of these rolls to try for yourself. Again, they're soft meat rolls is kind of what you're going for when it comes to the puzzle toys. You can customize them, which is exactly what we want. One of the other common reasons that your dog might give up on a puzzle toy right away is because they don't actually understand how to use it. So what you can do to help them with that is, one, pick a puzzle toy that is going to be a little bit easier skill level wise, and you can actually kind of show them how it works. So I'm going to get to this one in a second. This one was hard for Fen initially. If I fully loaded this, he would have a really difficult time with actually learning to take these out and find the food underneath, and for learning to lift these up. So teaching him something that I can do to help him with that is teaching him how this actually works. I can make it easier by using bigger chunks of treats rather than smaller ones. So it's a little bit more enticing for him to want to get to them. And in a toy like this, a larger treat chunk is going to nicely sit in there and be a little bit more motivating for him to want to go get. I could also put several in here, but helping him understand how this toy actually works by showing him is going to be helpful for Fen. If you have a dog at home that you're also trying to show how the toy works and they're getting more frustrated about that, Wrigley is kind of the opposite. She gets a little bit more frustrated if I do try to help her. She likes to figure things out on her own, and it's a bit more motivating for her that way. So depending on the dog you have, if they're struggling, help them out. And I can make this easier for Fen by actually kind of just halfway opening some of these and maybe removing one of these. I could also put this at an angle like that. So it's only kind of covering it, but he could move it with his paw and just kick it out very easily like that, rather than having to grab it and lift it out. All right, Fen. Good boy. Did you get it? There it is. Good job, buddy. So the larger treat chunks in this one, and the fact that I made it a little bit easier for Fenway to be able to finish, made this puzzle toy a little bit easier for him overall. This one is a more complex toy, however, so I did help him towards the end of it, but he was staying motivated throughout working on this one. Good boy, good job. It's not so fast. Good boy. Oh, there's one in there. Good boy. Good job, good job. Yeah, good boy. Hold on. Good job. Is that all of them? I think it might be. Good job, buddy. That's well done. That's well done. All right, Wrigley's playing cleanup. Well, this one is what I'm gonna use these wedges for. This one I can wedge the treats right in here, just like that, and I can get Fen to work the food out. I don't really have to show him with this one how this works, but what I can do is leave this wedge a little bit farther out instead of pushing it all the way in, which is probably what I would do for Wrigley. I can leave it pushed a little bit out so that he has an easier time getting this treat out. So I'm going to kind of load this treat with these. There we go, leaving the wedge a little bit out. I'm gonna give this to him and see kind of how he does with it. All right, so I've got my toy right here. Fen. Go, buddy. I know, I'll get yours in a minute. So this one, if I were to do this again with Fen, and this is something I am going to do again with him because it was a good long-lasting option, I would wedge that treat out even more. He had a difficult time once he chewed it down to get the remaining bits of treat out of this. So I would make it easier for him next time and wedge this one a little bit further out. The treats were sticking out a little bit further of the actual toy itself. I let Wrigley finish this one for him, but this would be a good long-lasting option to leave with him. The last thing to consider is if the puzzle toy is actually above your dog's skill level. So I don't have too many hard ones out here at the moment, but as an example, something like this one, you actually unscrew the bottom of this, there we go, to load it. And you can actually on this one adjust the width that your treats are dispensing in. with these little tabs. So I've opened it as wide as it can possibly go. This is one that I give to Wrigley pretty frequently, but the treats don't come out of this one very easily. So an easier version of this might be something like this. This one still dispenses the treat. Same thing with like a Wobble Kong. Sometimes this can even be a little bit too tricky. So an easier version is this one. So thinking about your dog's skill level and adjusting depending on that can be really helpful. So I'm going to load this one right here. I'll load this one as well with these smaller treat sizes. I know, it's very exciting. I'm gonna load this with the smaller treats, and the thing about this one is you can flip this one up, and I've given it to Fen in the past like this before to make it easier rather than having this flip down. We're gonna try it flip down and see if he can figure this one out. So this one needs smaller treat sizes. It's gonna be easier for him to get the food out if there are smaller chunks of treats in here. So this is one along with this one as well that I'll load also, where your smaller treat sizes are gonna be better for him and for him being able to figure this one out. And same thing with the quantity of treats that you put in here. If you only put a few treats into this one, or the Wobble Kong, or in this, the harder it's gonna be for your dog to get them out. So putting a larger quantity in here is actually gonna be more beneficial and helpful for them being able to get the treats out of here. Okay, there we go. So let's test these out. Okay. All right, Ken. Okay, and this is an easier toy, but I may still need to show him how to do it. This one is still sitting out over here, and he was like, huh, I knew how to do that one. Let's see if he can figure this one out. Good boy. Good job, buddy. And praising your dogs can be really helpful as well when they start to figure out how the toy works. Good job. You want some help? Here you go. Look at that. What is that? Yeah, get it. Good boy. Good job. Look at. What's that? What is that? Good boy. Good job. Can you get it? Good boy. Go find it. Good boy. Good job, kid. Come on. Yeah. Yeah. Good job, buddy. That's a good boy. Nice job, buddy. Well done. Another thing that you can also try to do if you have multiple dogs in your household, Fen actually learns a whole lot from watching Wrigley interact with a puzzle toy to figure out how to use it, rather than me trying to show him. Me showing him is helpful, but watching her work on a toy is more interesting to him. So if you have another dog who is good at puzzle toys, you can have your one dog watch the other one while they work on that one particular puzzle toy that the one that isn't very good at it can actually learn from that interaction, and that can be really helpful a lot of times. What that can also do, and goes a long way for my dog Fenway, is actually building interest in the toy. From some of those clips that you saw like he looked genuinely bored, like quite honestly bored. Food is not a super exciting thing to him. These are very high value to him, but what's also happening right now is he's getting full. So my other tip for this is don't work on this when your dog is already full. They're not going to be super motivated to want to actually get food out of something that is a puzzle to get out of if they're not feeling hungry. A way that you can identify whether a puzzle toy is going to be easy for your dog or hard for your dog is based on how you load the food. So these flat toys like this, This one actually spins and rotates on all different levels. You can make this one easier by not having the bones in it. You can make it harder by having a bunch of bones in it. You can lay it flat like this. You can spread it out to make it easier. There's ways to make a puzzle toy like this easier or harder, but this one is a relatively easy thing. All your dog has to do is nudge it, and they have the food available to them. Rather than something like this, that inside this Buster Cube, there's actually more compartments. So it's not as simple as load the food, tip it over. Not all the food is actually gonna come out when you tip it over. Rather than a Wobble Kong, it is just gonna tip out whenever you knock it over. So really looking at the individual puzzle toy and evaluating how easy was it to load, how easy was it for me to figure out where the food actually goes, and how easy is it going to be for my dog to actually just like knock it over and get the food out, or like a flat one, just twist it and the food pops out. So when you're looking at buying puzzle toys and you're looking for easier level ones, you're looking for quick delivery. If your dog can really quickly just move the toy a little bit and a whole bunch of food is going to pop out, that's going to be an example of a good easy level toy to start with. And if you're at home trying to figure out, is my dog even going to enjoy something like this, before you go spend a bunch of money on puzzle toys, I would recommend starting out with some homemade type things. I've got a DIY video that you can try out a bunch of different homemade puzzle toys on your own. A good example of that is taking a muffin tin. Most everybody has a muffin tin. Put treats in every single one of those tins and then put tennis balls on top of the treats. You could even just leave the tennis balls out and your dog has to go around and find the different treats in the tins. But that kind of simulates a toy like this that you would purchase. And the tennis balls are essentially the little bones that are in here. Your dog has to take the bone out in order to access the food underneath. So I'd really take into account the dog that you have. Do you have more of a Wrigley kind of dog who you could give anything to and she'll figure it out and she's extremely food motivated? Or do you have more of a Fenway dog who's not that food motivated? So you have to really think about the type of food that you're using, going for more high value type treats to load the puzzle toys with, but he's not that food driven and puzzle toys are kind of hard for him. Which dog do you have? Because that is going to drive the purchase that you make on which puzzle toy that you go for them. And I would recommend consider getting a few. If you try some of the DIY type stuff and you identify, okay, my dog likes this kind of activity, but not really this kind of activity, try out a bunch of different things. The thing that I've noticed with Fen is he tends to go for more of these flat type toys. I have a lot of bowls for them, different puzzle bowls that he does quite frequently, but a lot more of the moving toys are not really his jam. So a lot more of the puzzle toys that I'm going to be purchasing in the future, because of him, is more these flat ones that he is going to get more enjoyment out of, whereas I'm going to keep some of the staples because Wrigley prefers a lot of these moving toys, so I'm going to keep those for her obviously, but my two dogs are very different that way.
Thank you all for watching this video. Wrigley, Fenway, and I will see you in another one shortly.